everybody, it's Gail from Gail's Bookish Things. You may hear some loud noises in the background. We're having some couches delivered today and they're unloading and setting up, so I apologize for any distraction that may cause, but to me usually background noises on videos aren't a thing, but I just feel like I need to mention that. So today, a summary from Ink of the Week. Last week I did the Monteverde Scotch Brown. I had it in my TWSBI Eco Broad nib in this my cement gray one, and then I also put that ink in my Kaweco Golden Espresso, which is also a broad. I had my other one, not this one. And so I wrote down my impressions, and I felt like I do have this ink, first of all, so to evaluate whether or not I would buy or not was not an issue, but I'm thinking it's a good way to evaluate now on some of these if I would like to rebuy the ink. So I did say I wasn't sure that I would rebuy it, but then I'm reviewing all the things that I wrote this week, and I actually had a really good experience with this ink and these two pens. So I said a nice neutral brown, but that's maybe not totally accurate. I think it's a warmer brown with some golden undertones, which would be my preferred kind of brown. So here you can see it in the cement gray, the kind of line it does, and the golden espresso was super broad, super wet when it went down on the paper. The thing on my comments that I put is that I wasn't wowed by it, and I mean by that, I think I have mixed feelings about the color. I love brown, but writing with it just didn't, I don't know, it was maybe not something like, oh yay, this brown's great. It wasn't bad, but it didn't like make me super like, oh, this is so awesome kind of feel when you get that sometimes with certain pen and ink combinations. But if somebody asked me for a good brown, I would definitely recommend the Monteverde Scotch Brown. I reviewed some of the places where I wrote with it when I first started out. This is a Cosmo Air Light notebook. I use it as a gratitude journal, and I love to write on this paper, and just about any ink and pen combination works amazingly well on this, in my opinion. I got a lot of nice shading. The Kaweco, again, at first went down very wet, very gushy, flowy. And I wrote, as you can see, this ink and paper is amazing. The thing is, I have mentioned this before, but my Kawecos seem to not be able to keep up with my speed of writing or the thickness of my writing or something. And after a while, I found that I was still needing to screw down that converter a little bit. So anyway, but I don't know if that's something that's more of an ink issue or a pen issue. If you haven't tried this paper, I'll just put a little plug in for it. It's really nice to write on. And I just read a review somewhere that called this matte. And I think a matte finish is a great way of describing that. I've called it draggy, and that sounds bad, and I don't even know if that's a word, but it just like, it doesn't slide across necessarily, but it just soaks in that ink and it looks beautiful. And anyway, I really like this. I actually ordered a B6 Slim recently. One thing it does not hold up well with, though, is using it in a string traveler's notebook. I reinforced it with packaging tape down here, and that just got bunched up after a while. It's probably not meant for that. This is certainly thicker than a typical traveler's notebook, but I like keeping it in my little faith journal thing here. So I'll probably just slide that in a back pocket, or maybe I'll just put it back in and try some more tape. Here, this is the Golden Espresso Scotch Brown, and it was very, very pleasant writing on the Tomoe River paper with that. And then I have some more Tomoe River, and I just did page after page after page one day in this. This is a Kanzo Noto Tomoe River. This is the A5 size, and I have it in my Lockbee, which I'm loving. So really the ink performed very well, and I would give it, like, if it was a thumbs up, thumbs down thing, definite thumbs up, but just, I'd think twice about replacing the color. As much as I enjoyed it, I'm just not sure I was super wowed by it. That's the only thing I can think to describe it. Worked well on Nostalgia paper too, if I didn't mention that. So that was week 8, and then for week 9, I am trying another one of my ink samples, and I decided to do the Waterman Serenity Blue. I put a little teaser thing, you could call it, on Instagram saying upcoming ink of the week, and I had these 2 pens, and I had Diamine's Pumpkin, and pumpkin obviously sounds like a fall color, but I thought, well, summer is sunshine and orange and bright, and so that's what I was thinking when I decided to do that. But then I got to thinking, I don't want to write with orange right now. I wanted to try something else, so I decided that a lot of writing in orange is not what I want to do right now, because I've been working on a couple little fun projects for myself, and I didn't think orange would resonate with me for lots of writing. So I decided to try a new sample again. It's been in the running before, but I just picked it out. And this Serenity Blue, this Waterman Serenity Blue, to me has a purple look to it. It reminds me of when I was in grade school eons ago, and even high school, and the teacher would do like they called them ditto sheets, and the ink on there was a bluish purple. That color is what I think of when I see this. As it's dried, I'm seeing a little bit of a reddish shimmer, at least from the Kaweco Brass Sport, a little bit on the TWSBI too. It's kind of almost like you look at it and it's sort of a slight shimmer or shading, but it's very subtle. And when I don't have it in a certain way in the light, I don't see it at all. So I'm not sure, but I think there's a little bit there. When I wrote these both down just like minutes ago, they all 3 went down very wet, very nice, and well, I don't know, watery, flowy, but I like that a lot in writing, especially when I do like these short-term writing, if I'm writing in my gratitude journal or a prayer request or a short little blurb. I do scripture writing. I like a real wet, flowy ink. If I'm doing tons and tons of writing on my little story, I don't need it to be as wet for that, but I do like it to not feel dry. So there's a little bit of a fine line there, I think, for me, with long-term, not long-term, but longer writing projects. So we'll see how this goes this week. I put it in all 3 pens in, so the Lamy Safari, the TWSBI Eco, and the Kaweco Brass Sport. All 3 of these are broad nibs, so I'm thinking it will be fun to see how the exact same ink works in 3 different pens with broad nibs, which is generally my favorite, but I'm liking some of my fine tips. I'll show you those real quick. And I have showed this before. This is just a Pilot Petite. I've seen it range, I think, somewhere between $3.50 to $6 or something. This is actually a really consistent pen. I had just a little trouble with it this morning. I was taking notes at a Sunday school class, and it's like I could see the ink was in there and it wasn't drying, and I just gave it a little shake, and then it worked fine. So I have Noodler's Heart of Darkness in this, and this has been a super good pen for my extended writing sessions. And then I have in my Franklin Christoph, this is a fine Sig nib. So I've liked this because I find I can write really small with it, and I can also write larger. There's a little blue on the nib now. I have Noodler's 54th Massachusetts in there. Let's find a little spot. We'll just scribble, but this really fine nib with this really wet ink makes a really nice combination for me. So, but boy, that's messy. I'm just realizing it's all in the cap there. I've heard that about noodlers. I may clean that out because I like this pen. I don't want it to stain, but it's been a good combination as far as ink and pen for the way that I enjoy a pen to feel. I always like to say that because people have different preferences. And then my husband surprised me with this awesome pen for Mother's Day. This is the Leonardo, okay, I can't do the Italian accent, Officina Italiana. I've seen it called a couple different things, but the green blue, the blue green, I think on the box it said Blue Lagoon. It's got a number 6 Bach nib in it, and it is skipping a little bit. So, whoops, got ink and goo on my hands. Let's see, sorry about that, gross. And I have white all over my fingernails because I have powder in my latex gloves, so I don't get ink all over my fingers. So that looks weird. Anyway, this is a wonderful pen. It's beautiful. My first time writing with it, I'm like, oh, this is so nice. But then I noticed it was skipping a little bit. So I contacted Goldspot, and they're going to help me with that problem. But I'm really excited about having this beautiful pen. It's very, very comfortable. It's got this kind of tapered grip here. It feels very, very nice, and I really like the look, woo, what a glare, of these wider nibs. So I know there's like fine, medium, broad, stub, so on and so forth, but what I haven't found a lot of information on is when the nibs are given a number, like a number 6 or a number 5 or whatever. If anybody can refer me to a site that offers information on that, or how you learn more about that. I mean, it's not, it doesn't affect so much how the writing for me, or maybe it does because it can hold more ink at once, but I do like that wider look on a nib. So if you could comment below if you have some knowledge on that, or refer me to something that talks about not so much the nib grind, but the actual size of a nib. I'd be interested in learning more about that. I checked Pinterest and I didn't see a whole lot there, so I'd be glad for some referrals. I think that's all I have for you today. Hope you had a good week. Boy, that week went by fast, and tomorrow's Monday and starting all over again. My kids are wrapping up their schoolwork, so it's really great. Everybody feels like kind of like the summer, relax a little bit. Anyway, oh, and this is the Lockbee pen case, and I've really liked this too quite a bit. Holds 4 pens very comfortably. So that's all. Take care and see you next time.